So today we are going to cover supply analysis under business economics. Let's get started. I'll add the explanation link and the index in the description. Okay, so concept of supply. So it says that quantity of product available in the market for sale at any specific time, price and time. Okay, so as you have studied the demand, we are going to correlate everything with that of supply and we are going to compare and understand. It's a willingness of the seller to supply specified quantity within a particular price and time period. Okay, so in demand we were seeing the willingness and the ability of the consumer. Okay, here we are seeing the willingness and the price that a seller is agreed upon. Okay, next we are focused on determinants of supply. So if you see, the determinants means the factors which are going to determine what amount or what quantity or what type of goods will be available in the market. So price of the product. So supply is directly proportional to the price. More is the price, more is the seller is going to supply the product. Next, the cost of production. So if the cost of production is more, the amount of goods that are going to be manufactured is less. So here the point emphasizes on using the latest technologies so as to get the more manufacturing done in the same or less cost. So this is inversely proportional to supply. So if cost of production is less, supply will be more. Next we have natural conditions, so which is self-explanatory, like tsunami and all. So in that case maybe many manufacturing units are getting destroyed, and if it is functional fine, maybe for the sake of we can say for the public or for the satisfaction sake, he will be doing it for less number of cost or less cost. Yeah. Next we have transport condition. So if the transport cost is more, supply will be, charges will be more, so that also because of the transportation conditions, if it is worse, the amount of goods that is going to be supplied is also going to reduce. Next, the taxation policy. So industrial licensing liberalized. So if the cost of manufacturing or the license that the industrials are getting, if that is increased, less number of we can say for FDI will be less. Okay, and then the amount of people concentrating on the manufacturing will be lesser. All those things will be impacted. So import restriction, comport duties, all this will impact the imports and exports, so which will again determine the supplies of any goods which are coming from the other countries to our country or from our country to other countries. Next is the production technique. So here again we are focusing on the cost of production. So if the technology that we are using as of now is very obscene, we need to focus towards improving the tech that we are using for the manufacturing, or we can say the production line, or it might be anything. Next is the factor prices and their availability. So as you can see, land is very fixed quantity. Okay, so even if the price goes up and down, the supply is going to be remaining same. It is not like since prices of the land availability will not be there. It's not like that. Next we have price of related goods. So as we have here again we have complementary and substitute goods. So complementary goods is let's take for example, so if we take an example of ball pen or gel pen, ball pen and gel pen, so which are substitute goods, so we can use one instead of other. So suppose the price of gel pen is getting increased, so what seller will do, because the price of gel pen is more, he is going to produce more gel pen and is going to reduce the ball pen. So here we can see the effect is increase in the price of ball pen caused to the reduce of the supply of the other, that is the gel pen. I mean increase the price of gel pen caused to the decrease in the supply of ball pen. Okay, so that was just an example for price of related goods. Next we have industry structure. So monopoly, competitive. So again it depends on which kind of structure is there in any specific category of the market. So based on that, price will be modified, and based on the price the supply will be modified. Next we have law of supply. So what law of supply says that the relation between the price and the supply. It says that as the price of any good is increasing, the supply of the good also will increase. So it is positively related, that is proportional. Now supply of schedule. Before explaining supply of schedule, let me explain you that individual supply schedule will have a which is a tabular representation. The corresponding curve we call as individual supply curve. Similarly for market supply schedule, that is this one, it will have a corresponding market supply curve. Clear? So let's study. So individual supply schedule will have two columns, that is in tabular representation it will have two columns. So one which says the different prices. Okay, and in the second column we can see the quantities that supplier is ready to supply. So how the relation goes is, as the price increases, the supply quantity is also increasing. So here we are talking about one supplier. When coming to market supply schedule, we can see a quantity will be there in the first column and corresponding suppliers will be there in each column. So for all the relation is, the more the increase in price, the more is the quantity supplied. So that was our supply of schedule and supply curve. Next we have supply functions. So here supply function is we can calculate supply S as a function of price. So S is equal to F of P. Similarly we had demand function, that is D is equal to F of P. So everything will be calculated as a function of price. Now the assumption in law of supply is, income of buyers and suppliers will remain unchanged. Commodity is measurable and available in small unit. Taste and preferences will remain same. Cost of all factors will remain same. Time period under consideration is short, because in long term, of course, for sure all the assumptions are nullified, but in short term all the other assumptions might remain same. Technology used remain constant. Natural factor, producer is rational, means he is taking stand on his decision. Expectations of producer and government policy do not change. So we want all the other factors except the price to remain constant. Next is the exceptions to law of supply. So exceptions again will have only those points which we studied under the assumption. So if we take assumption 1, against that whatever the thing is there, that we call as an exception. So for let us take agricultural products. So consumer, like we have studied an example of land, similarly we are studying the example of agricultural products. So consumer cannot increase or decrease supply based on demand, because it is not in the hand of the farmer. It is like a specific scenario, a specific climate, every situation should be there to generate a crop. So it is not in the hands of the suppliers. Okay, so he cannot increase or decrease based on the demand. Next we have goods for auction, so which are limited in quantity. You want or not, if it is there, otherwise not. Expectation of change in prices in the future. So here we can see prices might change. Now why it is changing? As against the law of supply, if the price is increased, or we can say, okay, as the prices decrease, the supply will be less. But in the expectation of change in price in the future, in this case what the suppliers are doing, to clear their stocks, the supply they are increasing and the price they are reducing. So which is against the law of supply. Now supply of labor. So if you want skilled labor are limited in quantity. So do you want more, the price will be increased, but the amount of quantity is fixed. Like there will be some threshold. You cannot expect more or less than that. You can expect less, but you cannot expect more if you want skilled labor. So similarly we have one more example like festival. So if something is supplied, effects like festivals and all are exception to the law of supply. Now we are going to study about the shift and movements, and then we are going to study the one graph shows the shifts and the other graph shows the movement, and then we are going to study equilibrium. So we have three concepts as of now. So expansion. Okay, let's concentrate on the graph. So on the x-axis we have the quantities supplied. The same graphs we have seen on the demand also. So y-axis remains price in all the others, whether it is a supply or demand, but the x-axis here is the quantity supplied. So here if you can see, expansion means when large goods are supplied. So expansion, contraction, whatever we are speaking with respect to the quantity of goods that is supplied. Okay, we are talking about supply, so our terminologies will be with respect to the supply. So expansion means we had A amount of quantity supplied, now we are supplying B. So when we are supplying B quantity, why we are supplying more quantity? Because the prices increase. So because prices increase, we are supplying more quantity. That is called as expansion. And the opposite of that is when the price is reduced from P to P2. That is the quantity supplied reduced from A to C. So this was a contraction. So expansion, contraction, we talk either in supply or demand, we concentrate on a single curve. Only then we can focus on the expansion and contraction. Now if we want to talk about shift, the curve will be shifting left or right. So that means we are going to study multiple curves. So if you see, when the supplier is willing to offer large quantity of products at same price, okay, price is same, quantity increased from Q3 to Q1. So which means the curve S3 shifted to S1. So here we can see quantity is increased, so the curve is moved towards right. Decrease means supplier is willing to offer only small quantity of products at same price due to increase in taxes. So in the decrease we can say Q1 is decreased from Q3. So increase or decrease, again we are talking with respect to quantity only. Okay, if the right shift, it means increased in quantity, left shift means the decrease in quantity. So that was all about supplies, and we have studied about the demands. Now we are going to use the demand and supply to understand the market equilibrium. So market equilibrium refers to a condition where market price is established through competition such that of amount of goods or services. So here what we are saying is the demand and supply and the price decided is fixed because of the environment condition that is created because of the good condition in the market. So here we can say the price at the market equilibrium is nothing but price decided when the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied in the market is same. That is function of f of p for demand and f of p for the supply is same. So curve of equilibrium, as you can see, this green dot is one point of equilibrium, this red dot is another point of equilibrium, but the demand curve and supply curve are intersecting at a point which we call it as a market equilibrium. Next, factors which helps in determination of a marketplace. Okay, so shift in the market equilibrium. Now we have seen the shift in the supplies, now we are going to see shift in the market equilibrium. So if you can see the green dot, let's focus on sentences first, then we can see the graph. Shift in demand or supply curve will shift the equilibrium point. Exactly. Shift due to supply curve and shift due to demand curve will vary. Okay, so let's see. We had D1 and S. Okay, so S is the supply curve, D1 is the demand curve. So here our equilibrium point is green. Correct? Now as soon as our demand curve got shifted, that is the quantity got increased, that is demand got increased, our D1 became D2. So now D2 intersect the supply curve at point red point. So here we can see the red point is our point of equilibrium. So this was we have seen the shift in the demand. Similarly, we can see the shift in supply. At that time we will have a different point of equilibrium. Okay. Now the complex cases of shift in equilibrium, that is simultaneous in shift in demand and supply. Okay. Now when we try to understand the shift in market equilibrium, either we move the demand curve or either we move to supply curve. But if both curve have the movement at the same time, that is one of the complexity. And if the shift in demand is more than the shift of supply, so one is both are shifting and the other is the rate of shifting in both the demand and supply curve is different. So these are some of the complex cases of shift in equilibrium, but overall concept is which we covered under this. So that is shift in demand or supply curve will shift the equilibrium point. So that was the basic sentence behind the shift in the market equilibrium. So these complex cases are just additional of some new concepts here. So if you have any queries regarding to the supply analysis, you can write down in the comment sections.